You guys see this? Hey, James, do you see this? Newsmaker of the Year. It's beautiful, isn't it? We want to we want to thank Cranes, clearly the most reputable print publication, for their correct acknowledgement of me as Newsmaker of the Year for 2025. I'm very honored to have that designation from Cranes. Now, there are others who have not announced their Newsmaker of the Year yet. The Gongwer has not announced theirs publicly. I don't think the Midwesterner has announced theirs. I know there's a lot of people speculating who will be the Midwesterner's 2025 Newsmaker of the Year. We don't know. We don't know for a lot of you, but Cranes got it right. Cranes knows who the Newsmaker of the Year is, and very proud to accept that award. It's me, Dan Campbell, and a couple others, so I'm pretty excited about that. They got it right, so I'm not sure if the Enjoyer has a Newsmaker of the Year, but unlikely, but I do know that, we're all anticipating what will the Midwesterner do. Bridge should have a Newsmaker of the Year, but what? Bridgies, is that what you call it? Do they have the Bridgies? Well, they should have a Newsmaker of the Year. And I think there's only one that could be. I mean, we absolutely asserted our will on Lansing this year, the Republicans, and Mr. Dixon knows. I mean, I've seen you write many times that I'm outsmarting everybody up here in Lansing. And that's true. I mean, we are outmaneuvering everybody. I mean, you look at, we cut $800 million of waste, fraud, and abuse. We got Governor Whitmer to sign a bill that delivers no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, really amplifying President Trump's working families tax cut. I mean, you look, we finally fixed our roads, to over $2 billion of roads by cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, including the 2,000 fake workers, the ghost employees, and dedicating that to roads. We did a lot of things. And then, we cut over $600 million of the wasteful, most of which are very wasteful work projects, the slush funds that the Democrats were trying to use to do more wasteful spending. We cut that, and we won in court. We finally got a fair judge. Judge Godola is a fair judge. He put that preliminary injunction in there and said, hey, stop spending this money. And we're waiting on an accounting from the Whitmer administration. I mean, here we are in February, and we don't have an accounting from the Whitmer administration on that money. I've actually seen a number. I have seen a number. I'm checking with my attorney here. My attorney has authorized me. You guys know Andrew Fink, who's the most respected attorney probably in the state of Michigan, and he's just guiding us through this win after win after win in the courts. And we're suing everybody, and everybody's suing us. And what's funny is, we were suing 31 department heads and departments, and the lead plaintiff was DTMB, Michelle Lang, and she just left to become a lobbyist. So now we're going to have to, I was asking Fink, how do we insert the new name in there, Garant? I mean, that's tough. It's the first day on the job for Garant, and we're inserting his name in there at the top of the lawsuit. So now we're suing Garant, not Lang. But my attorney has authorized me to share this. So according to the filing from the Whitmer administration, is $349,461,595. So 349, 461, 595. So that's over $349 million that they're now saying is unobligated. Now, some of you falsely said to me in the press conference that it was over 70% that was obligated, but we're now finding, according to the Whitmer administration filing, they're saying it's $349,461,595 that is unobligated. So Judge Godola has put a preliminary injunction on that amount and said you cannot spend this money So that ends up being about 50%, I would say, which, is the point I was making in the press conference before. You listen to that hearing, and there's one time they said 50%, one time they said over 70%. They didn't have a clue what it was. They're now claiming it's $349,461,595 that's unobligated. So the next question is, I'm calling on the Whitmer administration. Okay, so now it's February. You guys know what is unobligated. So give us the list. Let's see what it is. Because my guess is a lot of the things that the media is saying we cut, we didn't even cut. But we'd like to see what is it that the preliminary injunction is blocking from future spending. And then we'll look through it and we'll say, okay, of that $349 million, let's make a deal. There'll be some of it that we want to fund. Maybe there's some things that are very good. But there's a lot of that's waste, fraud, and abuse and needs to be eliminated. So we can't move forward with a supplemental and making a deal unless they tell us, okay, of this $349 million, what is it? What projects is it? Which line items that we cut is it? And then we can go forward with, which was always my plan. I've said this from day one. We cut the waste, fraud, and abuse. And what was it at the time? It was over $600 million of waste, fraud, and abuse. We play with the number, but I think it was $645 million of waste, fraud, and abuse, most of it waste, fraud, and abuse. And now they found out, we were so disorganized, we already spent half of that. But there's $349 million that we haven't spent that's unobligated, that now we're under a preliminary injunction not to spend. Now the next question is, okay, then show us what it is. What is it? What is in the $349 million? And then let's start working to make a deal. The truth is what Sarah Anthony did, the Ultimate Lansing Insider, actually screwed this up. Because now that you have this, this Attorney General opinion, which Judge Godola really indicated that we're likely to prevail against in the case, which is why he put the preliminary injunction in. That's just slowing everything down. I've always said we can make a deal, but we're not going to fund the waste, fraud, and abuse. So everyone come in under HEAT, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan. Submit your pork projects. Tell us what they are. Explain to us why they haven't been completed. Who's the beneficiary? What's the public benefit? Does the organization exist? Because, a lot of them, what they were doing is they were asking for pork in the budget, and then once they got the money, then they would create the organization and make the taxpayers pay the startup costs. So we're saying, make sure you exist, no for-profit corporations, and then let's go. We'll fund the projects that make sense, that provide value for the taxpayers, and we're going to cut out all the waste, fraud, and abuse, and a lot of it is waste, fraud, and abuse. In fact, most of it is waste, fraud, and abuse. And when you saw the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference, they said clearly Michigan's economy is stable. You heard Treasurer Eubanks say that. You heard Jen Flood say that. And we planned for this shortfall. We planned this because and only in government would they call it a negative thing. We're returning more money to you, the taxpayers. We're giving you tax refunds, no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And in government, they focus on, that's taking money away from the government. We're going to have to cut something. Well, that's the point. You give the money back to the people and the government has less money. That was the point of that deal. We wanted the government to have less money because we believe the people would make better use of their tax dollars than the government is with all this waste, fraud, and abuse. With all the ghost employees, the fake workers, these wasteful grant programs, all of the wasteful IT programs, all the welfare programs for illegal aliens, and all kinds of things. It's better to give the money back to the taxpayers. Then secondly, we saw that the roads deal requires us to set higher priorities. Higher priorities. Waste, fraud, and abuse is not a higher priority than roads. Let's put that money into roads. Let's dedicate it there permanently. We did that with $2 billion a year, and that's causing a revenue shortfall, which we're going to use some of this $349 million to fix. And the Democrats, when we get done, I bet they'll shake my hand and thank me, and they'll say, thank you, we didn't have to make more difficult cuts because you blocked all this waste, fraud, and abuse that we can now use to help with our budget shortfall. Maybe some of them will even step up here with me and thank me. We'll see. But there's nothing Democrats in this state care more about than pork spending and protecting waste, fraud, and abuse. So it'll be interesting to see when their two values are up against each other, for the Democrats, right? Waste, fraud, and abuse, pork spending, and they go back and forth and debate that. And I personally think they're going to side on the pork spending, and so they're going to be very happy they have money for more pork, and they're going to sacrifice the waste, fraud, and abuse, and they're going to shake my hand and thank me. So we'll see. That'll be fun. I'll be proven right again. Many of you said we'd never get heat done, the whole ethics, accountability, and transparency plan, and we did. And now we're going to use it for all the pork spending. So yeah, we really accomplished a lot last year. We won a lot. I mean, you saw us not only winning lawsuit after lawsuit, you saw us get a budget smaller than last year, which is a very hard thing to do in government. They told me this is probably the only time the budget has been smaller than the year before, except for significant recessions, depressions, and war. And we made the budget smaller than last year, and we set us on a trajectory, and this is why the Republicans won last year's budget deal, because we forced a trajectory through no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, and dedicating the $2 billion from waste, fraud, and abuse to roads. And what we did is we forced cuts in future years, and now you look at this shortfall, they're saying you have to cut another $800 million of waste, fraud, and abuse from departments in order to balance the budget this year. That's exactly what we planned, and you see it playing out. I did want to acknowledge this award. I told somebody, pretty much, I mean, when you have as great of a year as I had last year and the House Republicans had last year, you spend a lot of your time accepting awards, whether it's Crane's Newsmaker of the Year. Obviously, you can see all my MERS awards up there. We just received the 2025 Most Effective Legislator Award for the House Member of the Year, but you can see there's a bunch of them up there. But I'm very proud of this, and Billy was here to give it to me. She's a very smart person from Americans for Prosperity, and we brought it here today. And it's interesting. I had never seen this quote before. There's this backbencher Democrat named Noah Arbit, and they uncovered this quote from him, and he was so mad that I cut waste, fraud, and abuse. He said, "The only thing Speaker Hall knows how to do is swing a sledgehammer," and then you know how the Democrats, they're so disciplined in their message. Ranjit Puri saw that, who's the weak Democrat minority leader. And he said, that's a good quote, and he copied it, and he said, "The only thing Matt Hall knows how to do is swing a sledgehammer to waste, fraud, and abuse, and the establishment and the status quo." And so I thought this was very nice that Americans for Prosperity gave this to me. I'll bring it up. So, look at this. Look at that. I'll show this to the Midwesterner. It's great. But no, I'll show you this. This is beautiful. I want the audio to pick it, but this beautiful sledgehammer that AFP has bestowed upon me as their 2025 Legislator of the Year. And what I really appreciate about this is it talks about smashing the status quo and knocking down barriers. And my favorite part of this is 74 in 2025. Something that AFP really respects is that 74, I'll show the media this, in 2025. And that stands for the 74 public acts that we passed in 2025, something that the average person appreciates. They say, why is it that in Michigan, the politicians, they pass 300, 400, 500 laws a year, every year, and no one ever checks to see if any of these laws are working. Well, we said, look, this year, 2025 is going to be about oversight, and it's going to be about fiscal responsibility, and it's going to be about setting us up on a trajectory to make a more efficient and effective government. And so we focused on oversight, and we said, are these departments following laws? Are these laws working? And we found in many cases, no, they're not. And then we looked at the budget, and we actually went line by line, something they've never done before. And we found over $5 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse, including the 5,000 ghost workers. These are fake jobs, and they're costing you hundreds of millions of dollars of the taxpayers. And we said, you know what, we only need 74 laws this year. We made them count, though. I mean, I went through a bunch of them. We made them count, whether it was no tax on tips, overtime Social Security, whether it was saving Medicaid. I mean, I remember the Democrats, and they're doing it again, by the way. They cry and cry and cry about Medicaid. Well, I got to work. I said, look, I'm going to study the One Big Beautiful Bill. I'm going to learn everything about it that I can, because I'm going to figure out how to preserve Medicaid funding. And Greg Van Workum worked with me on that. Well, what we did is we figured out all we had to do was make some very minor changes to Michigan's Medicaid law, and we could protect all of the Medicaid funding for Michigan. We did that. We had a beautiful bill signing. Look at this. We had a beautiful bill signing. There's a lot of people wanting to take pictures of this. It's beautiful, isn't it? We had that bill signing with Gretchen Whitmer, Greg Van Workum, and myself, where we all celebrated. We saved the Medicaid funding. It was very easy. Now, where are the Democrats? I saw a story in the Free Press, which is one of the, probably the second most reputable print publication after Crane's. And we saw the Free Press, and they said, in their publication, they said they had a story from Jen Flood, where Jen Flood is talking about, here they are again, right? Oh my goodness, Medicaid, right? Our whole budget presentation is Medicaid. Well, what they're talking about is work requirements, okay? The Democrats hate work requirements. They don't want you to have to work, get an education, volunteer your time in order to get welfare. And so what the Democrats call jeopardizing Medicaid and taking away Medicaid is saying, okay, we don't want illegal aliens to have Medicaid. We don't want non-working people, able-bodied adults, 40-year-old men living in their parents' basements collecting Medicaid for years and years and years. You've got to work, you've got to seek education, you have to volunteer your time if you're an able-bodied adult and you're seeking Medicaid. That's what we're talking about, okay? But for last year, we got all of Michigan's Medicaid money by making very minor changes along with Greg Van Workum. It was fantastic. So we made it all count in 2025, and I'm very proud of this award. So thank you to the highly respected Americans for Prosperity for giving me this sledgehammer. I'm very proud of it. We're taking this to the status quo and the establishment and the lobbyists, so I'm very grateful for the recognition as AFP's Legislator of the Year. So thank you for that. I'm going to put this back in this beautiful display case. Just beautiful. You know, we'll have this up here so the school groups can see it along with all these other awards. You know, the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association Legislator of the Year, Small Business Association of Michigan Legislator of the Year, and all the others. We'll have it up there. So very proud of that. I will say, as we're moving ahead here, you know, we're very excited. We're working on affordability. We're getting closer and closer to unveiling our property tax reforms. It's really important to me. I've heard from so many people across Michigan, property tax is the #1 issue. People are struggling with their property taxes because ever since Biden was there, it went up 5% every year. So you figure under 4 years of Biden, that's a 20% increase in your property taxes. People are feeling that. And so now what we have to do is we have to work to make significant reductions in your property taxes, and I'm doing that along with the House Republicans. Now, while the Democrats are complaining about Medicaid, even though we saved Medicaid last year, we got all the funding to Medicaid, and they don't like the work requirements. There is a problem with healthcare affordability, and you see that with a lot of the small businesses telling us, hey, our premiums are going up 15, 20%. You hear from a lot of people struggling to afford their healthcare costs and premiums, so we're working very hard on healthcare affordability, and we're looking at how we can reduce the cost of healthcare. You see all these very large hospital systems, and it was supposed to reduce the costs, but we said, we're looking at the studies, it's not reducing the costs, it's increasing the costs. The more the hospitals are merging and becoming bigger and bigger, they're getting rid of competition and the costs are going up. So we really need to look carefully at their books, and we need to understand through a new commission, how are they spending their money? I mean, what is it? 50% of the state budget goes to DHHS? So you figure we're pumping let's say $40 billion into health and human services in this state, and then the hospitals are constantly telling us that they're going to close because they're in poverty. So we need to say, okay, how are they spending all this money we're giving them, and how can we assess? Because we want our hospitals to be viable, we want our rural hospitals to be open. It was very interesting to me. I looked at the governor's rural health care application, and we were in the bottom 10 in the country in terms of our rural health care funding. President Trump and Congress wanted to give us up to $250 million in rural health care funding, and I gave authorization in the budget for that. But instead, we got something like $173 million, and we're in the bottom 10 in the country. And a lot of that is because of the unwillingness of the Whitmer administration to adopt a lot of these MAHA policies, like the presidential fitness test. We adopt that, we get more rural health care money. Well, that makes sense. They want people to be healthier. They want oversight in the spending. They want sustainability in the spending. And we all saw how they tried to say that Detroit is rural health care. Well, that was a joke. No one believed that. And so, tens of millions of dollars of rural health care funding for our hospitals was lost because the Whitmer administration really messed up this application. So my goal for the coming year is to work with the Whitmer administration to fix that rural health care application so we can actually get all of the rural health care funding that the president and the Congress intended. And I'm hopeful we can do that. And that's going to be quite a task. So you see some of those hearings going on so that we can understand why did the Whitmer administration screw up this application, what did they get wrong, and we're going to work on a solution to really push to get as much of that rural health care funding as we can, because our hospitals need it. But we still need to know what there's in their books, we need to understand their financials, and we need to ensure that they're not gouging people, and that ultimately they're providing lower cost healthcare services, and also they're very viable. I give President Trump a lot of credit for the work he's doing at the federal level. You see Trump RX, which is bringing down drug costs. You see the work that he's doing with most favored nation status, which is forcing these drug companies to give Americans the lowest costs. I just saw something recently about some of the major drug companies announcing that they're lowering their prices in the United States just this week. And then also, you see under the Great American Healthcare Plan that President Trump has launched, the work they're doing to kind of address these PBMs and these middlemen that are driving up a lot of the margins in the healthcare industry. So we applaud those efforts by President Trump. And then what we can do at the state level is we can really address the other part of what's adding so much cost to healthcare, which are these hospital systems. I mean, a lot of these CEOs are making 7 figures. They're some of the wealthiest people, and these hospital CEOs. And these costs keep going up. It's not good. So we got to get this under control this year. We have to do it. We're looking forward to making major strides on literacy in schools. You see that a lot of the things going on with this state Board of Education, under this new superintendent, they're starting to say some things that make more sense. I thought they put some constructive ideas forward on how we can make our phonics law happen faster and how we can implement it better. We need to get the phonics immediately into the schools, and we need to make sure our teachers are ready to teach it. So I thought there were a lot of constructive ideas offered there that we also intend to move forward on. And so I've got a lot more, but I'll stop there, let you guys, if anyone has any questions. Go ahead, Travers.
Thank you. The Midwesterner on Tuesday reported that Jocelyn Benson's husband is on the board of advisors for RX Kids.
Yeah.
And will be deciding where the program will be expanding. Just what is your reaction to that?
Yeah, I know. Isn't it amazing? The more we learn about RX Kids, it's unbelievable what a scam this is. So, you know, I give Beth credit. I mean, in her reporting, we saw we started to learn about RX Kids. Now, I always knew RX Kids was a scam, but you see the research coming out. I mean, essentially, they're studying, you know, this is an effort largely to increase voting for Democrats in Democrat areas. But also what they're doing is they're giving a lot of money to illegal aliens, you know, and you see that. I mean, essentially, they've created, we have a lot of cash welfare systems in our state that have been around for a long time, that have limitations on them to protect taxpayers. Those are in shortfall right now. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take some of that money from RX Kids that they're not spending and give it to the other cash welfare programs that have been around for a long time so that people have the funding for these programs that they've relied on for years and years and years. And those programs have guardrails and safeguards to ensure that illegal aliens are not getting them. But when you look into this RX Kids, the illegal aliens are getting it. It's like the whole thing was designed to go around the welfare systems that have safeguards. There's obviously no work requirements for RX Kids. The whole purpose of it is to give a universal basic income to people that are having children, women that are having children in certain select areas. That's the whole point of it. And they've made it very clear they do not want to limit it to citizens. They want illegal aliens to get it. So if you're an illegal alien, they're saying, come to Michigan, have your child in Michigan, we'll pay you a guaranteed income, and then you get to the front of the line for your immigration status. So that's concerning on its own. But then what we're seeing through the reporting of the Midwesterner is this really is a web of a lot of these Soros-funded left-wing groups that are funding this. These are all left-wing nonprofits that are funding this. And this seems to be a scheme to increase Democrat voting in the state of Michigan and also to attract illegal aliens, more illegal aliens that will vote Democrat to Michigan. So I'm not surprised at all that Jocelyn Benson's husband is one of the leaders of this. I mean, he seems to be involved in every scandal in state government right now. I mean, you see what he's doing with the data centers, trying to bring those data centers in, not listening to the local governments, just trying to cram them in there. Now we learn that he's part of this illegal alien welfare scheme and scheme to increase Democrat voting turnout is crazy. So great reporting there. It's very concerning. You know, when one of the reporters told me this guy was a lobbyist, I said, wow, he's not a very good lobbyist because I've never met him. But man, then you start seeing all the things he has his fingers in. You go, wow, this is a crafty guy, Jocelyn Benson's husband. But you just wish he would use all of that genius that he uses to do all these scams to help lower the cost of living in Michigan or something more constructive, maybe to clear the voter rolls or something like that. But, you know, very, very concerning, this Ryan Friedrichs and his connection to the RX Kids. And what was amazing looking at that, I mean, literally George Soros is behind all of the groups, all these groups, and then they're all on the board of this, and and you look at like what the mission statements of these groups are, and they're all radical left causes. It's a very, very political thing they're trying to do, and they're trying to do it for very political reasons. So great work by the Midwesterner on that. And I suspect there'll be more reporting. I heard it's just the tip of the iceberg. And of course, Winnie Brinks championed this, and that brings me to another thing. I'm going to now renew the call we need to ban this revolving door. We need to stop the politicians from being lobbyists. I saw that Rebecca Warren was hosting a forum, probably today. We all remember Rebecca Warren. This is the politician, the Democrat politician, who thought that she could be a lobbyist while she was a legislator. Because of Rebecca Warren and other Democrats, we're going to have to ban that. You should not be a lobbyist while you're an elected official. That is a conflict of interest. You think that's common sense, but it's not. And then what I'm calling the Sam Singh retention bill, we need to end the revolving door. The politicians should not leave office and become lobbyists. If we can close that loophole, and this is why I think we can get Winnie Brinks to back it. If I can close that loophole, then maybe Sam Singh will run again. And we all want Sam Singh back, don't we? I mean, he's a far left Democrat, but he's a good deal maker. He's a good guy. And I read in the Detroit News that Sam Singh is not committing to running again. We want Sam to run again. So if we can just ban that revolving door, let's stop these politicians that are cozy with the lobbyists from leaving office and immediately becoming lobbyists, people like Sam Singh. So we're calling it the Sam Singh retention bill. We can keep him in the legislature if we can just block the politicians from becoming lobbyists. And you look at Michelle Lang, the director of the DTMB under the Whitmer administration. She left to become a lobbyist. I mean, she's literally leaving the Whitmer administration to become a lobbyist. And that's really the problem we have, is you're seeing these Whitmer cabinet officials. They're going to be, one by one, they're going to be leaving the departments they're running to become lobbyists. And these Democrat senators that are all term limited are going to be leaving their jobs to become lobbyists, okay? And I'm just saying, is that what we want? Do we want the politicians, while they're working here, to be making deals to become lobbyists? And the answer is no. We need to end that revolving door. You should not be able to become a lobbyist right after you're a politician, whether you're a department head or whether you're a prominent state senator like Sam Singh. And we're all hoping that Sam runs again. He didn't give an answer. Just kind of reading the tea leaves there, that he's not committing to run again. I'm very concerned that he might be working on becoming a lobbyist. So we've got to pass this bill. We got to ban the revolving door, and we've got to stop the politicians from becoming lobbyists. And then hopefully Sam Singh will have to run again, and we'll continue to make great deals like I did with the sick leave and the tip credit, where I saved the restaurant industry right alongside Sam Singh, and saved the tip workers. And we also protected paid sick leave in the state of Michigan and ensured people had a job. We need more partners like that, like Sam Singh. And I will say, we all know that I've endorsed Darren Camilleri to be the next leader of the Senate Democrats. I want to choose their leader, not them. I want to choose their leader. I've chosen Darren Camilleri. I think he'll be the easiest to defeat in a negotiation. But I did not mean to knock Sam Singh out of the legislature when I did that. Apparently he took that very hard, and he doesn't see a path to winning their leader now. And he's questioning whether he's going to run again, and maybe even is considering being a lobbyist. So I'm just saying that was not my intention when I endorsed Sam Singh, or his opponent, Darren Camilleri. My intention was that I wanted the easier person to beat in the negotiations. I wanted it to be like Brinks 2.0, which is Camilleri. He would be very easy to defeat. I did not want to knock Sam Singh out of the legislature. So that's why I'm calling again. The House passed it last year. let's ban the revolving door and stop the politicians from becoming lobbyists, and maybe we'll keep Sam Singh, and I'll still get Camilleri over there, so I'll win more deals for another 2 years. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, earlier today, the Attorney General Dan Nessel announced that they were making a form available on our department's website so that you could report ICE activity in the state of Michigan. And sort of leaving open the possibility to investigate ICE enforcement here. I'm just curious, what's your view of the ideal role of the state in terms of federal information?
Yeah, well, this is a federal matter and really should be within the purview of the U.S. Department of Justice and the Trump administration. I'd say, it's very difficult, whether it's regular law enforcement or to be an ICE officer today. I mean, you have all of these radical left agitators, many of which seem to be organized probably by the same groups that are behind RX Kids, these left-wing Soros groups. And I mean, you go and you see these very organized tactical protests where, everyone has these very expensive gas masks. They seem to have very sophisticated communication systems to really gather intelligence about what these ICE officers are doing. So I'm just saying it's a very concerning environment where what you're trying to do is what the American people elected President Trump to do, which was to enforce our immigration laws, to find these criminal illegal aliens, and to enforce our immigration laws, and to deport a lot of these people. Now you're having these Democrat politicians that are encouraging some of these efforts to really endanger the lives of these ICE officers. I mean, I've seen, people showing up and figuring out what hotels the ICE officers are staying at, stalking them, following them around, following them in their cars. There's a lot going on here that's not good. So I really oppose that. I really think we should, the American people elected President Trump to enforce our immigration laws, and really we need to be supporting ICE. We need to be respectful toward our law enforcement and ICE officers, and we need to let them do their job. Now, I do see, President Trump said, look, in Minneapolis, if they don't want us there, fine. I mean, if their city burns down because they don't have the capability of defending their city, that's on Governor Walz. I do think, though, you're going to see some of these Democrat mayors and governors saying, we need you here. We need you here. Help us defend our cities. But I think he made the right call when he said, look, we're not going to force this on your city, but you're going to, I think in many cases you're going to see these Democrat governors calling and saying, hey, we need help because we can't deal with some of these problems. So, Dana Nessel, I oppose what she's doing. I mean, it seems like we have a lot of ICE operations going on in Michigan right now. They're carrying out those efforts very well. You do not see the type of controversy in Michigan that you saw in Minnesota. And I would credit the Governor Whitmer, a little for that. I mean, it seemed to me like Governor Walz was being very antagonistic in Minnesota. You kind of contrast that a little with Governor Whitmer, who really has worked to build a good relationship with myself and President Trump. And you don't see her engaging in the same kind of antagonistic behavior that you saw the Minnesota governor. And I think that's why this wasn't happening anywhere other than Minnesota. I mean, you look at this problem they have with all of this fraud in the in the child care systems. And I think there's some credibility to the fact that Walz probably spiked this thing up to change the subject away from all the fraud that they found in Minnesota. I mean, there's a lot of fraud in Michigan, but there is enormous fraud in Minnesota under Governor Walz's watch. So as we're looking at Michigan, I don't think we should be taking efforts to obstruct ICE. I don't think we should be encouraging people to harass ICE and create instigations with ICE. We should support ICE, and we should be collaborative. And I think that's why that good relationship here, you're not seeing these problems. I mean, you saw this with Detroit. I mean, right now, Detroit has been cooperating with ICE. And you're seeing everything's working very smooth in Michigan in immigration enforcement. So it's unfortunate Nestle's doing that, but I mean, she's inserted herself in every single left-wing issue she can.
On the opposite side of that, you can say she would be more so the state police to coordinate and assist federal immigration enforcement.
Well, I think we should be. I mean, I'm not going to support these efforts. I don't know if the Democrats actually will pass them or not, but, we're not going to support efforts to create sanctuary zones in Michigan. I'm opposed to that. I will be blocking that legislation. It'll never happen as long as I'm Speaker. We need to partner with our immigration enforcement. We need to ensure that they have the access and the tools they need and the support they need to deport people that are here illegally, to arrest a lot of these criminal aliens. I mean, you look at this, a lot of these criminal aliens are guilty of very bad things, murders, sexual assaults, all kinds of things. And, then they go and hide in some court to not get arrested by ICE. That's going to make things more dangerous. So I think we need to not have sanctuary jurisdictions. We should not be having sanctuary zones, and we need to support ICE and partner with ICE. Yeah, Beth.
Aside from like a supplemental or a budget this year, what do you see realistically that you would be able to get criminal changes? Is there any kind of legislation that you see?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's start with the cell phone bill. I mean, I guess I surprised some of you. I threw that one out there. Mark Tisdale's been working really hard on this to ban the kids from having cell phones in the classroom during class time. It's sad that we had to do this, but you have a lot of local governments that don't want to do what they're supposed to do. These local school districts will not stop the kids from using their phones in the classroom, and so the state had to come in and say, look, we're going to create a uniform standard, and all school districts must enact something that fits this criteria to stop the kids from using their cell phones in the classroom. So they're focused on the instructions from the teacher. They're learning. I mean, I was going through these statistics today. The math and reading scores were like 44th or below of all the states. The kids are not learning the way we need them to, and they're on their phones and they're distracted. So we need to stop that. And then we're going to partner with Governor Whitmer on a lot of these literacy ideas. But I expect everything that I've laid out here today to become law. We're only shooting for realistic things. I believe we're going to get meaningful property tax reform. I believe we're going to take action to lower the cost of health care by reining in some of the out-of-control things that these healthcare systems are doing and going through their books and lowering the costs of health care. We're going to do a lot. I'm very hopeful that we'll do very big things on literacy to get the phonics law enacted faster, to ensure that the tools are there to implement it correctly. And there's a lot of synergy between the State Board of Education, which is run by Democrats, and us, the Republicans, on how to do that. You've seen Governor Whitmer call for literacy, and I support her on that. So I think we're going to make a deal. We'll do good things there. I think we're going to get this ban of the revolving door across the line. I do. I think we're going to get it. I think because Winnie Brinks wants Sam Singh back so bad, I think she'll do it. So we want to ban the revolving door and stop the politicians from being lobbyists. while they're politicians, and we want to stop them from becoming lobbyists when they leave office. I think we'll get that done.
But just to clarify, the property tax reform, do you see that as like a legislative bill, or is it something that has to be on the ballot? What's the game?
So we're looking at both options. I've kicked around the idea of having two competing ballot proposals, much like what they did, Proposal A back in the 90s. I've also kicked around the idea of doing it legislatively. We're going to be working through that with our caucus and then talking to the Democrats. I mean, I actually talk to the Democrats a lot more than you guys think. And, we want to see if we can get some partnership from the Democrats, because in order to put it on the ballot, it requires a 2/3 vote. And so that's going to require the Democrats to vote for it. And so we'll see if we can get there. But we're going to do something bold on property tax reform, and we're going to lower people's property taxes. And I'm confident we'll get that done this year through and signed by the governor. Yeah, Travers.
We just passed another campaign filing deadline, and there were complaints about the website. Has Jocelyn Benson yet complied with the budget requirement that she transfers the IT control to DTMB? And what is going to be done about that issue?
That's a great question. I'm really encouraging the House Oversight Committee and the House Appropriations Committee to hold hearings on this subject and really to look into how the transfer of our IT systems is going to DTMB under their new director, who's a very nice guy, Kyle Garant. Kyle and I worked together on making this historic budget deal that made the budget smaller than last year. It cut $800 million of waste, fraud, and abuse. We got rid of 2,000 ghost workers. We dedicated $2 billion to roads. We provided no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. Kyle Garant was a big part of that in the state budget office, and now he's going to be the DTMB director. So him and I have a very good relationship. He was in the room with me 4 a.m. when I was making this budget deal. He got to kind of sit on the wall and see that. So I'm looking forward to working with him on this change, because the budget law says that that this is being taken away from Benson because she's failed on her IT management, and it's going to be handed over to DTMB. And so we need to get updates on that. And so, in my inquiries, I'm getting information that this transfer is underway and is occurring. I think it's a growing consensus position that Jocelyn Benson is incapable of managing any IT system. She's very incapable of managing her office. I mean, you look at the culture there that's being alleged of discrimination in her office. She's not running a very good department, and so we need to take that IT away from her, like we do under the law, which the governor signed. And so I'm asking the House Oversight Committee and the House Appropriations Committee to begin hearings right away on that topic, and also to begin hearings immediately on the status of the state workers coming back to work. We want to make sure that those occupancy rates are increasing. I have all the swipe card data. We've been analyzing it very closely. What does that say? They give it to me, but they won't give it to Beth. That's the relationship of trust that I forged with the administration. So I have it, and we're working to see exactly what we can release and how we can release it. But I'm just going to tell you, well below 80%. The law in the budget says that it must be 80% in line with the private sector. That means we're going to have to end many of these leases. There's like 300 state buildings that are being leased, most of which are empty. And that's, when we talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, I mean, that's probably hundreds of millions of dollars of waste when you're not using the buildings, they're empty. And then we're going to bring more workers back to work. And I've asked the House Oversight Committee and Appropriations Committee to get on that. So these guys have a lot of big tasks. They're looking at the rural health application. They're already starting the investigation into the Michigan Public Health Institute, which is a government scam to work around transparency laws, to work around to work around the civil service law, really to do things in secrecy that I think we're going to find are not good things. I discovered the MPHI during the pandemic when I was chair of the Joint Select Committee on the COVID-19 pandemic. I discovered this, and people think I forgot about it. I did not forget about it. We're coming back and we're investigating this, and we're going to get to the bottom of what's going on there, because I think there's a lot of things going on there that are not good and the taxpayers will not like. Then they're going to be looking into the status of the boilerplate in the budget law, which is bringing the state workers back to work and ensuring that the IT moves from Jocelyn Benson to the DTMB. So looking forward to that. And I do want to give Jay DeBoyer and the House Oversight Committee credit for, you see while Dana Nessel is trying to create tension and problems in Michigan with our ICE officers, she's not prosecuting former Democrat officials that commit abuse of vulnerable elderly people and take their money. The House Oversight Committee has been on top of this for quite a while. You saw the hearings, and then I want to thank the Kent County prosecutor, Chris Becker, for doing the right thing and prosecuting this former Democrat official that appears to have really taken advantage of a vulnerable elderly person. So great job there. Our Attorney General wouldn't do it, but thank God that there's an honest prosecutor out there in Chris Becker in Kent County who's doing his job and is hopefully going to get justice on that very serious issue. Did you have something, Colin? Yeah.
I was wondering, when we got the healthcare affordability,
Oh, yeah.
I saw the 340 bills were moved in the House and Senate.
Yeah.
Have your thoughts on what's changed?
Yeah, so, there's been a lot going on with the 340B legislation. I've expressed that I have some concerns. I was looking at this study that was done. I'm always looking at studies. You probably wonder, did you see, by the way, I out fundraise everybody? But everybody. I beat the Senate Democrats, the Senate Republicans, the House Democrats. When you guys total up all the PAC money, I beat everybody too. And I did that while smashing the status quo here in Lansing, by the way. But I'll just say we raised more money than anyone. And I saw this quote from Ranjit Puri, and this is just pathetic. Well, we almost beat him. Almost beat him? That doesn't count for anything in politics. Almost beat him. That's a joke. I almost beat him. Well, no, you didn't. I think it was like 16%. That's not almost beat him. You win by 16%. That's a landslide. They didn't even come close. And you look, where were we at on cash on hand for the year? I was at over 4 million, and they're at like 1.8 million. It's like 4.8 million to 1.8 million. And what was it last cycle? It was like neck and neck. We were like tied at. So their fundraising is dropping like crazy. And you look at these people like Reggie Miller, Denise Menser, Mai Zong, is a very extreme person. Their fundraising is cratering. They're probably down 400% in their fundraising. Like, they had like $200,000 at this time last year cash on hand. Now they've got like 20,000. It's crazy. The cratering of the fundraising. And there are a lot of Democrats, by the way, and I've been hearing them saying, we made a mistake. We should have kept Joe Tate as their leader. And I agree with them, because at least Joe Tate could fundraise, something that Ranjit Puri can't do. You never heard Joe Tate say, when I beat him in a quarter when we were in minority, something Puri can't do to me. You never heard Joe Tate say, I almost beat him. No. You know what Joe Tate did? He went to work and he raised more money. And people can say a lot about Joe Tate's inept leadership, but the Democrat Party is going to miss his fundraising ability. He was a great fundraiser. And that's why many of them are starting to say, we should go back to Tate. We made a mistake with Puri. And I happen to agree with him. I probably would have kept Tate too, honestly. Maybe they'll go back to him after they lose in the election. They'll go back to Tate, and we'll have Tate and Camilleri on the Democrat side, and that would be a lot of fun. I would endorse that. And that's another one. We want Joe Tate to run again. He's a great guy. We want him to run again. The House Democrats need leaders, and the only leader they have really is Joe Tate. So hopefully he'll come back. He's a great guy. On the 340B legislation, you look at what they're doing. I mean, they're looking at the legislation, but I'll just say, I mean, you look at it, this is, so my point is, how do I have time to read all these studies when I'm out fundraising everybody? It's amazing, but I do have the time. I'm running the organization, I'm out fundraising everybody, and I have time to read the studies. And what the studies are saying is that the ones that get the 340B have the highest profit margins of any hospital. And our goal is not to pad the profit margins of the hospitals. Our goal is to lower the cost of health care for the people, right? I mean, someone was telling me 25% of all debt is medical debt, okay? These costs of health care are getting out of control, and we can't be focused on padding the bottom lines of the hospitals and the hospital executives. We have to be focused on lowering the cost of health care so people can afford their health care and their health care insurance. And a big part of the problem are all these costs that the hospitals are tacking on. That's why we need an oversight board that is focused on bringing down the costs of health care services. And so that's what I'm looking at, and I've not seen any studies yet that indicate that 340B would help in that way. So right now, I'm opposed to what they're doing on that. Thanks for that prompt, Colin. Yeah, go ahead. No, hold on, Mr. Dixon.
You mentioned bloated voter rolls. Michigan continues to be a member of ERIC. We have bloated voter rolls despite that membership. It's fair to look at it and just say on its face, it's not working.
Yeah.
Is that something Michigan should continue on?
I tease Eric Nesbitt about that, but he says Eric is with an E, right? It's not with an A. So Eric Nesbitt's with an A. So I said this Eric, but it's an E. It's Eric with an E. Yeah, I mean, I looked at this very carefully when I was leading the oversight committee and looking into the 2020 election, and Jocelyn Benson got us involved in ERIC, and they used that to say that we can't do a lot of the things that we need to do to ensure election integrity in our elections. So I think we really need to relook at that ERIC system and whether that's a good thing for the state to be involved in it. I don't think it is. We want to ensure that our voter rolls are secure. I think that the state of Michigan should comply with some of the requests coming from the Trump administration to share that information with the federal government so we can clean the voter rolls. I'm very encouraged by some of the reports we're seeing that this new ballot initiative is nearing the signatures to make the ballot, to ensure that we have clean voter rolls, to ensure that that we have voter ID laws and that people are citizens who vote. I'm also very hopeful that the federal government will pass the SAVE Act so that there are additional protections at the federal level to ensure we have election integrity in Michigan. So I think there's a lot of very good things going on the horizon to ensure election integrity. I'm also very supportive of Rochelle Smith's efforts to ban the foreign money in elections. This is a very shocking loophole in Michigan law that the foreign governments and foreign nationals can pour money into these ballot campaigns in Michigan. And the studies say that Michigan is the #1 state for foreign money pouring into the state to influence our ballot proposals. And so I think the people of Michigan would like the legislature to prohibit that. We should not have money from foreign governments and foreign nationals shaping very important ballot questions in Michigan. So I think we're going to move on that very quickly in the House, and I'm hopeful the Senate will take that up. I mean, you hear the Senate, the Democrats constantly talking about foreign interference. I certainly hope they will not want foreign interference in the ballot proposals once we educate them on that. So I think session's about to start. What, Simon? And then I got to go. I'm supposed to be at session, you know, unlike Garland Gilchrist. And by the way, I told you guys he was embellishing his achievements. This guy wasn't a part of any of that stuff he said, and now we found he wasn't there 92%. I thought it was just me that never saw that guy around the Capitol, but I give Beth credit for exposing, what was it, 92% of the time the guy's not here? What? Craig's story. What is it? Is it 92 or is it higher? Might be 94. I think it was 94% Garland Gilchrist isn't here. I thought it was just me. I mean, last time I saw that guy was at the State of the State. I haven't seen him since. There were a lot of cameras there, so he was there.
On the topic of the voting, President Trump on Monday said, quote here, we should take over the voting, voting in 15 places.
Yeah.
Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. Do you support relinquishing the administration of Michigan's elections to federal authorities?
Well, you know, that's interesting. I mean, obviously, Jocelyn Benson is raising a lot of concerns about her ability to run elections fairly. I mean, you look at all the things her husband's involved in, and I'm really concerned that Jocelyn Benson is going to throw Mike Duggan off the ballot. We saw how she kept RFK Jr. on the ballot against his will, but then dropped Cornel West. And Cornel West wanted to be on the ballot. So she has a history of gaming the ballot in order to help her preferred candidates. In that case, she was trying to help Biden. This is the most important election of Jocelyn Benson's life. She's running for governor. She's going to go to all stops to try to kick Mike Duggan off the ballot. By the way, I give Mike Duggan credit for accurately pointing out that the Democrats were holding up the education budget to promote their views on the transgender athletes and the transgender bathrooms. That's exactly what was going on. I know I was involved in a lot of these conversations. I mean, and I know that's what they were doing. And there were a number of times where the Democrats were holding up good legislation for radical left causes like that, like the transgendered bathrooms and the transgendered athletes. And they were saying, if you don't put the transgender athlete protections in this bill or the transgendered bathroom protections in this bill, then we're going to hold up the education budget. I give Mike Duggan for having the guts to honestly call that out. I also find it hilarious that some of the very legislators that were doing it are now denying it. And then also that everyone is piling on Mike Duggan when clearly, do we not remember how dysfunctional the Democrat trifecta was? I mean, they couldn't get anything done because they were leveraging each other. And Mike Duggan was telling the truth about that. So I hope that, I think he'll be vindicated on that as you guys do more research. So I'd have to look at what he called for. I'm definitely concerned about what's going on with Benson running the elections. And, we'd certainly be open to involvement from the federal government to ensure that Michigan's election is run fairly. But I'd have to look at specifically what he called for because I didn't see it. I'm going to have to go to session now. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you, Mr. Dixon, for being here. Great to have you. We are attracting the most respected journalists, so thank you.
All right.